Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, webheads. It's your old pal Victory Nub with another episode of Nub's Collection, Excelsior! That is the worst Stanley impersonation of all time. Welcome back, everyone, to Nub's Collection, a YouTube series dedicated to the cataloging and review of every game in my physical media collection. As I just said, I am your host, Victor Nub, and today we are looking at Spider-Man and Venom Maximum Carnage, developed by Software Creations and published by LGN on September 16th of 1994. I decided to jump a little ahead in the timeline of games, as we do periodically here, just to take a look at games for special reasons, as is the case today, December 19th, 2021. We are a few days after the release of the most recent Spider-Man movie, Spider-Man No Way Home. I did have the opportunity to see it today, in fact, and I thoroughly enjoyed it in a way that I have not enjoyed any of the previous MCU movies of Spider-Man, but we can get into that in a little bit here. Let me go ahead and do some setup for this. I probably should have looked up the instruction manual beforehand, as this is a Super Nintendo game, and the instruction manuals didn't have cases. I don't actually have the instruction manual anymore. In fact, this one would have been a hard one to get the instruction manual for, seeing as how I bought this game used, and I bought it used from a rental store. This was back in the time when rental stores still existed, and more importantly, you could actually get games that they were trying to remove from their stock simply because they were from older systems that they were no longer renting out. I have quite a few in my collection for the Super Nintendo that used to be games that were rented out by the local video game or local rental shop, and I was lucky enough to snag this game right before they ended up selling it out. But I am just stalling so I can get to the instruction manual. Here we go. All right, so this section of the story setup is titled Carnage Unleashed. When Cletus Kasady was sealed away in Ravencroft, a maximum security institution for the criminally insane, society thought it was safe. Society was wrong, because the alien presence that symbiotically inhabits Kasady's body is alive and thriving. It had been biding its time, and now it's ready to unleash ultimate insanity upon the world. Kasady has been transformed, and mass destruction is imminent. Carnage, trademark, lives. As if one lunatic isn't enough, prepare yourself. Carnage, trademark, has found a soulmate in Shriek, trademark, another Ravencroft inmate with an equally insatiable hunger for slaughter. Wait, there's more. As they blaze a trail of mayhem through Manhattan, Carnage, trademark, and Shriek, trademark, find others who share their hunger for horror. Doppelganger, trademark, Demogoblin, trademark, and Carrion, trademark. Random chaos and maximum mayhem are their goals. They're getting all they want, and more. Spider-Man, registered trademark, and Venom, trademark, know the frightening truth. Carnage, trademark, must be stopped, or he will continue until the city has been decimated. Too many innocent citizens have already been lost. It's up to you to stop Carnage, trademark, and his crew, and you must stop them now. All right, I think that's a pretty good setup. So, of course, this was based on a comic book run that they did in the mid-90s. We'll see the story here. Ravencroft, a maximum security institution devoted to the study and incarceration of the criminally insane. It's important to note that most of these story interludes where they have stuff happening. Oh, I sincerely hope, Arthur Resnick, that I can somehow return the courtesy you've shown me by slaughtering you quickly and with minimal agony. Most of these panels are from actual panels of the comic books that the story is conveying. In your dreams, sicko. You should have listened, guys. I warned you. And I might have to press a button to get it to advance, or just let it go. There really is a monster hiding within me. Hey, Resnick, remember how I said I'd go easy on you? I lied! You should never trust a raving lunatic! I am the ultimate insanity, I am Carnage! I'd like to thank the Academy for giving me this award tonight. Uh-oh.
Come on, fellas. Put a little more fight into it. I need the practice. Spider-Man and Venom are bound to come after me when they learn of my escape. Unless I play it smart and go after them.
Keep fighting. Make mine mayhem.
Huh? What kind of nutcase would egg me on? My name's Shriek. Cut me free. I can't wait to join you on the slaughter circuit. I knew you'd change my luck, pretty lady. There's a spider in that alley. Let's go squash it.
I don't know how much longer I'll be able to do this.
That's my line. I'm supposed to be the monster here. Don't hurt him. He's sort of cute in a sick and deranged sort of way. Oh, all right. He can keep you company while I attend to some personal business.
It's all so frustrating. Every enemy I defeat always seems to return.
Like I'm destined to keep fighting them over and over again.
So before I was interrupted by the actual story that had to take place, this game, of course, is based on the comic book run that occurred in the mid-90s. The story was so-so. I mean, they kind of laid out what happens in it, at least in the early part where, you know, Cletus Kasady is sealed away in an insane asylum, and eventually he breaks free because apparently he had been thought to have been cleansed of the alien symbiote that was overtaking his body, and it turns out, you know, a little bit of it survived in his blood, and then he just kind of broke free, convinced a couple of other villains to join him. In this case, the one that probably is the most important to the story that we're going to see play out in the game is Shriek, who has the ability to induce madness in other people. She's psychic, I believe. But you'll see why that's important, because in this game we actually fight a lot of people. Let's see if I got the right buttons. Uh-oh. There it is. And I'd figure it out. Sorry, I seem to be seeing a little bit of an audio delay here, but that's alright. We have to sync it up in post. I'll certainly do that. Hopefully it won't ruin the experience for you guys. There we go. So I will happily admit that I am probably a fake fan of Spider-Man because I never owned any of the comics when I was younger. In my case, I had to choose between having video games or comics as my primary obsession, and of course I have a YouTube channel dedicated to video games, so I think we know what the answer was there. It turns out both can be very expensive hobbies, and when you are a kid who has, you know, a meager allowance and parents are like, no, we're not buying everything you ever want, you have to figure out ways to get what you're looking for, and if that means you have to choose between two things, sometimes so be it. And of course, as I mentioned before, this game I didn't get through my parents. I ended up buying it myself from a rental store when it was being removed by sale. Oh, come on, do it. That's the button. There it is. All right. So you do get to web swing in this game, obviously. It's a side-scrolling brawler. Probably the best way to represent Spider-Man, at least early on, because they had tried a couple of other different kinds of games, and boy, none of them were any good. In the case of this one, they give you a lot of options for how to traverse the world. As you can see, they're... Oh, come on. There we go. Oh, messed up. They give you the option to web swing, even though it's rarely actually in use because you're usually on the ground beating up street thugs and people who have lost their minds because of the insanity being caused by the presence of Shriek. And you can't crawl on the walls, you can web swing, you can do a whole bunch of other things. You can pick up large objects and throw them, although I think Spider-Man has the good sense not to try to crush normal civilians with objects that would kill them in a single hit, so you usually don't see him doing anything dramatic like picking up cars. He does throw a dumpster every now and then, but I don't know if that's outside of the limits of what he would probably do in the comic book to defeat someone. Oh, there we go. I knew I had a button for that. There we go. You can obviously web up people to incapacitate them. There is a cool mechanic in this game where if you manage to get consecutive hits, as you see right there, he does a power hit, and that usually kills whoever you hit in one shot. You have to have consecutive hits. If you miss any, you break the chain, and he loses his combo. They don't tell you, you just see on your health bar up at the top, it'll start flashing, because that means that you've started building up enough of the combo that you're about to get the power hit. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do, because in games like this, you tend to just kind of mash the button as fast as you can to get what you're looking for, which is to beat up thugs. I'm saving that set of newspapers because here come the bosses. Hit him. Yeah. All right. I do not condone violence against women, even women who are wearing biker shorts and doing katas. But in the case of these two, they are tough fights. The biggest weakness I think this game has is the fact that, much like the comic book, while there were plenty of villains for Spider-Man and eventually Venom to beat up... Oh, I didn't know there was a one-up up there. Interesting. Even though there are plenty of supervillains for the two of them to beat up, and you do see them in this game, there's also plenty of sections in the game where you're simply beating up civilians that have gone mad. And yeah, she did just hit me with her hair. Video games. By the way, if you were worried that I was going to give away any story bits about No Way Home, rest assured, I want the first experience to be as sacred for everyone else as I attempted to make it for myself, so we will not be divulging any details in this particular episode of Nubs Collection. It's a good movie. I think everyone should go see it. The MCU, with, I think, maybe one exception or two exceptions here or there, has been consistently amazing throughout its entire run. Obviously, there's going to be some people who think that, you know, the early stuff for Incredible Hulk and Thor were not great. Hard to argue. I also didn't think the first Captain America was all that great. Although I do consider the second and third ones, Winter Soldier and Civil War, to be two of the best movies in the entire MCU. I don't think that the first one was all that great. I think it was a little bit too traditional comic book movie. And I don't mean like MCU, I mean like older ones where it was like it introduces a character and they go on a pretty by-the-numbers adventure, and it just never did anything for me. Oh! Okay, I'm moving. So as you can see, Spider-Man has spider sense in this game, and in the case of this section of the game, we're trying to climb to the top of the building while avoiding these blasts of energy which are coming from Shriek. And if you go in the wrong direction, you get hit. What I'm trying to do is... you have to go left and right, and there's these sills that you gotta avoid, and unfortunately, it gets harder to maintain that momentum as you're going up, because sometimes I'll tell you to go in a direction you don't want to go, because it'll stymie your progress. Oh, not enough. It's alright. We're making it. We're making it. Can't stop me. Oh. I will say that this is probably the best looking of the Super Nintendo Spider-Man games, which is not saying a ton. Super Nintendo games were better looking than Nintendo games, just by virtue of being a newer system with better graphical capabilities, but at the same time, it was also rife with some very ugly graphics, as we'll see in a game much later down the line, because we've got plenty of Nintendo games to go through yet. I have 3 Spider-Man games on the Super Nintendo, and I think of the 3, while this I won't say is the best one, I think it is my favorite. That's not saying a ton about the quality of the game, but... Oh, yeah, I forgot. Favorite thing about this area. You can break this and throw it at him. Oh! Or screw up and do that. I think that exclamation point is a continue. The end. But, yeah, I wanted to look at this one today because it is my favorite, and since Spider-Man's my favorite comic book character, as it were, I actually do have a couple of collections of the older comics to look at. Oh, sorry, we should be reading this. Meanwhile, in the offices of the Daily Bugle. Hi, honey, I'm back. I'm not going to do the whole voice thing again. It's a little rough on the throat. Can you guess who's going to help me on a Venom hunt? Here's a clue. He's turning a sickly shade of green right before my eyes. Oh, J. Jonah. Always getting targeted. Future is rather bleak for Jonah Jameson. And it's about to get much worse. Why'd they drop the J? There's 3 J's there, man.
This is a miracle. Ribs, killing me. If ambitious punks don't do it first.
Anyway, I lost the thread of what I was saying before. I had to start doing storyline again. But ultimately, this game is my favorite of the 3, although it's not the best. The Spider-Man game that I think is the best is probably the one that was based on the animated TV series from the 90s. It has the most diverse gameplay and I think the best use of the character and all the villains that he has, because of all the characters in comic books that have, you know, their own villains to contend with on a issue-by-issue basis, Spider-Man probably has the closest to Batman's rogues gallery of any hero. Huge breadth of villains that he tackles that everyone knows. I don't know if there's a whole lot of other characters that everyone would be able to say about, say, Thor, even Cap, probably not so much. We all know Red Skull, been a villain of his for years, but I challenge you to name more than, say, 3 that aren't shared by other people, basically. And Spider-Man just has, good lord, dozens of villains that he tackles. And the animated series video game has you face, oh lord, 12, 13 of them. I'm sure I'll put up the full number here if I can find it online somewhere, because I don't know all of them off the top of my head, but it's a great video game. This one, pretty good. Still my favorite. Just because of, I think, what it represented as far as the freedom of movement as Spider-Man versus any other Super Nintendo game, which always felt kind of hampered by the controls. This one, very free-flowing, I think, even though I'm not doing the best job of representing it. Yep, there we go. I threw a dumpster. Oh, I want some health. There we go. Ah, I missed my chance. I was going to kick her in midair. Ooh. So there's a thing I haven't done yet, haven't had a chance to do here, where if you have 2... Oh, forgot all about that one. You can shoulder charge people too. There's a move you could do where if someone's on one side of you, or 2 people are on either side of you, and they're the same distance apart, Spider-Man can grab both of them, pull them together, and then smash them together. And I don't think it kills them, but it does a considerable amount of health. This I did know about. Some of these I don't, some I do. On the intro video, you saw a lot of characters that were featured in the storyline. I think the villains were shown, as well as a couple of other superheroes. The way that works is you don't actually get to play as most of them. You get to play as Spider-Man and then eventually Venom. But the other characters that you see are special items that you can pick up in the game. And they'll come in, they'll do whatever their special ability is, and yeet out at the end of it. It's a nice bonus. It's usually only helpful against bosses. There are a couple that are designed for crowd clearing. I think Cloak and Dagger is one that just does like a quick hit to get rid of some people and that's it. But for the most part, those are best saved for boss fights that are particularly difficult. This is one of the few games that I can confidently say I've beaten, although it is a very difficult game. Oh! And as you can see, the clothing choices here are about as 90s as clothing choices can get. A lot of people in shorts and loud colors and hats worn backwards, which is a thing that has not stuck around as long as it probably, unfortunately, did. I'm not gonna lie, I'll wear a hat backwards every now and then, but it's not out in public. Usually I wear that forward because I like to use the bill as it's intended, which is to shade the eyeballs. Whee! Oh wait, was there anything? No, I already did that. I think there might be something up here at the end. Yep, I think that's another continue. Whee! I like that if you get on the wall, the enemies will all kind of stop and look up at you because it's like, we can't get you. The power hit also requires you to not get hit while you're doing your consecutive punches on people. I want to see if I can get this set up. Nope. Come on. Come on. Nope. It's not easy to do. It's, unfortunately, it requires you to be lucky more often than not. There we go. Got it. The playstyle of Spider-Man and Venom are pretty similar. The difference is Spider-Man's a little bit faster with his hits, and Venom does more damage with each one. But they functionally operate identically, mainly because if you're in any way familiar with the comics, you understand that a good chunk of what gave Venom his strength is the fact that he bonded with Spider-Man, and that Spider-Man's strength, reflexes, ability to project webbing, although it was organic in the case of Venom, were transferred by the symbiote to Eddie Brock, so he shares many of the abilities that Spider-Man has. I don't think so, fat boy. I don't think you can web him. Nope. Oh, you can. Alright, well, that'll be easy. Just keep doing that. Gotcha! Again, we got a couple of seconds where we beat up a couple of villains, but for the most part, what we've been doing is just taking on random people. The panels try to make you feel a little bit better about it because they're telling you they're just street thugs, but come on, you're beating up random people on the street! I forgot. Oh! That's right, you're supposed to lose this fight because you get saved, and that is Cloak and Dagger coming in to save the day. Yeah, the longer you go without dying in that fight, the more reward you get. You get extra lives, I think continues, maybe. Spider-Man still needs our help, Cloak. Is he? I don't know yet, Cloak. Just take us home. So one thing I wanted to talk about during this particular episode of Nub's Collection is the soundtrack, which is absolutely fantastic. If you haven't been listening along while I've been playing the game, it's very much a rock album, and more importantly, it's a rock album that was written and recorded by an actual band. And when I say recorded, what I mean by that is they didn't actually record an album in MIDI form or chiptune form. This was an album that someone had recorded as a live band. In this case, it was Green Jelly. And once they were finished, someone came back in and digitized it so that it would actually play on a Super NES cart without requiring way more memory than they were capable of storing. Green Jelly wrote a good chunk of the songs on here. I will say that there was at least one song called The Mob Rules, which is a Black Sabbath song that they kind of adapted for this game. and unfortunately did not get credit for. If I can remember which one it is, I will point it out when we hear it. It's not this song, but there were plenty of songs that Green Jelly did write themselves, and they get played extensively. This is one of them that we're hearing right now. There we go. Fantastic soundtrack. For the parts that were actually like a band writing songs. There are some other chiptune segments that are just bad. The end song of this game is one of the worst songs I think I've ever heard in my life. Thankfully, I don't think we're going to get to that point in this game, even though I am moving along at a pretty steady clip here. Tandy! He's very upset about this. Carnage in New York. Excellent, we get to switch. Edward Brock, the man whose casual attire holds a startling secret. It's alive. You, Carnage, we thought we were done with you. But we've come back to make sure that this time... Carnage! So the panels that they selected to inject into each of these interludes were probably not one-to-one. Like, the previous one probably had nothing to do with this one, since it seems like he was about to say something and then he just yells Carnage. Brock's alien costume, the symbiote Venom, shares his thoughts, his feelings. And right now, their mind pool is a jumble of hatred, disgust, and rage. So I think we get to choose between who we're going to use here, and obviously they're trying to set you up to choose Venom, which we'll do so that we can take a look at both heroes. Whee! Or in the case of Venom, I guess an anti-hero. And as most people who are familiar with Venom know, he kind of uprooted after his encounters with Spider-Man and moved to San Francisco, which is why we're here now. And had his own successful ongoing run of comic books. I think they just finished recently with one where he basically becomes a god and now can see into the minds of all symbiotes everywhere in the universe. I don't know if there's anything you can get in this area because you can't cling to the walls, I recall. Nope, don't get pinned. No. Sorry, Rick. That was a big swing and a miss. Owie! Yeah, so I haven't gotten any of the summons yet. If I get one before the end of the game here, or the episode rather, I will use it, not to try to salvage or save them for any huge fights. Odds are we're not going to get that far to reach the end. I'll probably just play until I get a chance to see one of them. Whoa! Uh-oh, don't let them pin you! Uh-oh. Ouch. Man, I don't know what they're putting in their hair, but it is lethal. Got some health. Sweet. It's getting dicey there. I don't know if you have a 0 life or if it ends after 1 is gone. The ladies, the easy way to beat them up is to get real close, like basically on top of them, because they do their hair attack at a certain distance, and if you're too close, they won't do it. Everyone else, I think it's pretty standard fare. If you're in normal punching range for them, they'll probably not be able to do much as long as you're hitting them the entire time. Boss fight? Oh, here we go. There we go. Been trying to do that pick up and throw down move because it's pretty good for doing damage to people if you're trying to clear someone behind you. Oh. And the ladies are one of the few characters in the game that can actually block. But again, best way to beat them up, get right on top of them when you start punching because they can't do their hair whip. Uh-oh. Another fat guy! 2 guys. Ow! I think it's over. Sorry, I didn't want to talk during the continue song because I love that song. It's fantastic. We gotta start the whole thing over. Alright, we'll go until I get to the next continue, and then I'll probably call it a day. I have beaten the game. It's not an easy game by any stretch of the imagination. I don't like being cornered here. You're not getting me. Get out of here. As is the case with most brawlers, the key to winning the game is crowd management, which is not letting enemies get behind you, because if they do, that's usually a quick way to die. I want to save that for one of the chicas. These guys are nobodies. Easy to beat up. There we go. Gotcha. In a roundabout way. I mean, I really just kind of got hit and dropped it on her, but hey, it worked. Back when people actually used the mail system. Oh, that's kind of sad. Thank you. Oh, gotcha. There's also a special move in this game that depletes some of your health, but it hits in a big circle around you. Oh, grab it, grab it, grab it. Yeah. Oh, shoot. All right, lady. Come here. So you don't have to actually do that backflip to start swinging on your web. I just think it looks cool that way. And this game is style above pretty much everything else. It's a fun game, but I don't think it's necessarily the best Spider-Man game. And obviously, there's now a couple of Spider-Man games came out on PlayStation 4 and now PlayStation 5 coming up that are more well-designed and polished. For anyone who is hoping and praying that we'll get to see the PlayStation 2, Xbox Spider-Man games, unfortunately, I did not get any of those. I think at that point I had kind of become disillusioned to Spider-Man games because they, even in their best intentions, were usually pretty bad. I do have a couple of PlayStation 1 Spider-Man games. Those were okay. I know I've beaten both of them, but they're certainly not the best that Spider-Man games have ever been. There's a power hit. Venom smash! Come on, big boy. I also like that there were 2 different variations of the boss fight song. Uh-oh. I almost had the power hit. Oh, now you know. Oh, we're getting close. Got him. Ah, crap, and they killed me. Nope, come on, stop it. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this with you guys. One side. There we go. All right, 1 down. 2 down. I think in every version of Venom, that tongue gets longer and more prehensile. Can't we take the avenue? The park is dangerous. Cripes, Irma. We're in a car. What could happen? Hey, come on, people. It's convertible weather. Well, Venom travels fast. He's already in Central Park. He was just in San Francisco. But this is a story because it's setting up that I think he gets hurt and has to team up with Spider-Man. You don't have to play through it a certain way to get to the end of the game, but it does affect the levels you see and, more importantly, the storyline that they show. Some panels you won't see unless you play through certain characters' sections of the game. Ouch! These are not easy fights. This is a 2-player game, I think they showed. Oh, yeah, you have to lose here. Okay. Yeah, they're going to start beating me up, and that's a weird way to make a game, but yeah, they do have segments like that. Peter, I think it's Venom.
So much for sleep.
What is going on with his feet? Looks like he's wearing bear claws on his feet. Near the waterfront.
What to hit next? There's so many targets. A problem I myself share. But by following my ex-partner, the doppelganger, I found my next victims. You want to hurt people? Why didn't you say so? All you gotta do is join us.
I'm not here to fight you, Venom. I want what you want. I don't know why I'm playing Black Cat so flat. What? Alone? I've come to help put Carnage... Oh, wait, I did those out of order. I've come to help put Carnage in a body bag. What? Alone? Guess what? No! Spider! Now you get to choose again between the two. We'll go back to Spider-Man since he's the main hero. Not that it was a problem playing through the game with Venom, but I think up to that point you can't play 2-player. You have to get to this part of the story before you can actually have a second person in the game. Honestly, I don't remember. And you never know, maybe one day I'll do a 2-player run of this game as just kind of a bonus side episode. I think this is where you get your first superhero pickup, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong. Oh, and if I remember, I'll try to do... There it is! That's the hit that goes... hits everyone on either side, but you lose health when you do it. Don't want to do that too often. Uh-oh. I know. Chonk. Did that say chonk? There we go. Whee! What's up? Oh, oh! I might have gone past it. Oh, shoot! It is right there, and I can't get it now. I knew there was something up there. I just couldn't remember where. So it's important to look up in these stages. Train blows with me, buddy. Yeah, if you have the option to cling to the wall, best way to get enemy groupings you're going to find favorable instead of letting them surround you. Oh, you want to get on the other side? That's fine. Gotcha. Oh, got some health back. Sorry, Sal. I want to go back this way! You jerks. Uh-oh. Not ideal. Catch you midair, jock! That is his name. I have a feeling he's not much of a jock in real life. G off. Always marveled at that version of the name, G off. Yes, I know it's just pronounced Jeff, but come on. If there's two different spellings of Jeff, which one do you think is the real Jeff and which one is the G off? Suddy. Beat up a guy named Suddy. Okay. Yeah! That building had a sign on it that said no water. Why would you stay there? Murray's posse on the wall here, right below where I just jumped. Danger. That building has a sign on it that just says danger. All three. Hey. You want to fight? Come here. It does. It says chonk when you hit people with the other person you pick up. That's funny. Whack. Sorry, now I'm just babbling about the stuff I'm seeing on screen. Wow, that girl was really going after it with her hair whipping. Hey, whoa, easy. Look at this. She really likes that move. Whee! You're at my mercy. Oh, maybe not. Ooh, nice jump kick. Although, another boss fight. Probably people again. Oh! This is actually, as ridiculous as it sounds, one of the toughest fights in the game. Because those umbrellas do a ton of damage. And somehow they're all like master swordsmen with their swords. So the easiest way is just get up top, jump down, hit, get back upstairs. And if they do surround you like that, it is game over because they'll just poke you to death. Gotcha. Oh, I missed. Oh, get up. Oh, see? One hit. That did quite a bit of damage. And they poke fast. Alright, one of them's starting to go down. Big Dawn, who is anything but big. Dr. J. Who, judging by his attire, has been a basketball player his entire life. Come on. You both know it's over. There you go. Done. Alright, I think we'll get to a boss fight coming up. I'm talking over the fighting accuracy. That's just how often you hit with the button presses you do.
Okay, you want to act like animals? Then I'll treat you like animals. From this moment on, you'll get no mercy from Spider-Man.
This is probably terribly placed because it makes it sound like he's talking about beating up random civilians as opposed to the villains, like the supervillains, and I think that's what he was talking about. But I haven't actually read the full comic. I've seen snippets of it. Ruthless monster almost maimed that man, Cloak. Exactly why Venom wants him, Cat. And we need him if we're going to defeat Carnage and his crew. That's supposed to be Morbius there, and we'll probably get his pickup in this next area, because I think this is where we get our first superhero item. The Deep, New York's newest celebrity-owned nightclub where media heroes come to share the spotlights, but where there are heroes, there are always villains. So we'll have to fight 2, maybe 3 of them. Yoink, extra life. Yeah, if this is a hot nightclub, I would say it's pretty sparsely populated. Never been at a nightclub, they're usually not this empty. At least if they're popular. It's basically wall-to-wall people the second you walk in. Maximum capacity, what's that? It's actually the sequel to this game. Maximum Carnage and the sequel, Maximum Capacity. But I'm sorry, I shouldn't do dad jokes. Whoa! Oh, there's our first one. Alright, so, let's do it now. See you later, guys. Wah, 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 wah. And they're gone. Thank you, Dagger. I have no idea where he took me. I guess we're straight into the boss fight. Ouch. Unfortunately, the dagger or cloak move won't actually work on these guys. As you can see, trading blows with Demogoblin doesn't work because he just punches you back. This is the one you want to hit with kicks. Doppelganger is a little more easy to beat by just throwing punches. Ouch! Unfortunately, that means you don't want them to stack up. Damn it, I may lose here. The irony is, Carnage is the main baddie, and I probably won't even see him by the end here. We'll do this one more time. I don't think it's going to do anything. Maybe damage him? Oh, I damaged him. Okay, cool. Make that a little easier. And I still lost. Okay, I think that's going to do it for our look at Spider-Man and Venom Maximum Carnage. Let's go ahead and do the review phase. Let's do the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good, as I mentioned before, the two main strengths of this game are that the control and movement of the characters is very fluid, and I don't feel like I am ever not in control of what's happening on screen. With the rare exception of the few areas where you can't cling to the walls, you can control pretty much every encounter in the game, and it's just how willing you are to risk fighting enemies a certain way that puts you in serious danger of losing encounters. That fight that we just had there, they were kind of pressing you to use one of the superhero icons just to get a feeling for the power that they possess. You know, they give you a fight where you have a choice between engaging one villain with punches to effectively beat them up and another one to engage with kicks, jump kicks, to take them down. And since it's kind of difficult to crowd control guys that can only take damage a certain way, you're meant to use your superhero icons there to help eliminate them. Also in the good category, again, I really liked the soundtrack for this game. Obviously, it's a digitized version of some songs that were performed by an actual band, so they lose a little bit of the fidelity you would get from actual instruments, but I still think what they provided to the game in the limited doses, including this Continue song, were outstanding. As for the bad, they leveraged quite a few villains from the comic run that this was taken from in the game, but you're usually just beating up random street thugs, and honestly, it's not great use of the enemies. I get that in the comic, the people went mad and there was a lot of violence and fighting among them, but the superheroes probably would prefer to focus their efforts on finding the villains and beating them up instead. So it's a little silly that you're beating them up. As far as the ugly, gosh, I have to think about that. You don't get to see Carnage until pretty late in the game, and if you're not great at brawlers, that means you probably will never actually see him. You get the threat of him constantly throughout the game, but he's a late villain that you fight in this game. And with good reason, because he is actually very tough when you do encounter him, because he can project, spears and axes and all kinds of stuff, and it's a very tough fight without the help of superhero icons. And I think the few times I've managed to get far enough to the end of the game to actually encounter him and fight him, that's what I did. I just spammed superhero powers to try to kill him. It's doable with your main character's set of abilities, but it's very difficult. So let's go ahead and give this a score. We do our score in Randars, 1 to 10 Randars. I'm going to give this a 7. 7 Randars. Again, I really enjoy the freedom of movement that this game presented to you in a Spider-Man game. Probably the most freedom that you had yet in a Spider-Man game. There might be some people who argue that up to this point when this game released. I don't know if any games before this allowed you the same control fluidity that this one did, and that gives it a good score. But the fact that it's a brawler, that the majority of your enemies are all just random people on the street, and you barely see the villains as much as you would like to, brings the score down. Great soundtrack. Kind of on the difficult side if you're playing alone. I imagine this game is a lot easier if you play with another person. Hopefully one day we'll get to do that, but I can't make any promises. But I think 7 Randars is a fair score for this game, given in its kind of limited scope since it's simply a brawler. But that's going to do it for this episode of Nubs Collection. As always, I do appreciate everyone watching, and I will see you next time.